The moment the slap echoed through the ballroom, everyone realized the groom had just exposed his true self. But Aaliyah's response would change everything. The ballroom of the Grand Meridian Hotel sparkled with crystal chandeliers and white roses. After months of meticulous planning, Aaliyah Johnson's wedding day had finally arrived. Her ivory gown, adorned with intricate beadwork, cascaded elegantly around her slender frame as she stood beside her new husband, Nathan Brooks. "Ladies and gentlemen," the DJ announced, his voice reverberating through the room, "please welcome for the first time as husband and wife, Mr. and Mrs. Brooks." Before we go any further, comment where in the world you are watching from and make sure to subscribe because tomorrow's story is one you don't want to miss. The crowd erupted in applause. Aaliyah's mother dabbed tears from her eyes while her father stood proudly. The Johnsons had initially been hesitant about Nathan, not because he was white, but because the relationship had moved so quickly. 6 months from first date to proposal had seemed rushed, but Nathan's charm had eventually won them over. Aaliyah, a successful corporate attorney, had never looked more radiant. Her natural hair was styled in an elegant updo adorned with pearl pins that matched the ones Nathan's grandmother had gifted her, a peace offering after their rocky first meeting. That memory now seemed distant as both families mingled, seemingly comfortable with one another. "I can't believe we pulled it off," Aaliyah whispered to Nathan as they swayed to their first dance. Nathan kissed her forehead. "Did you ever doubt we would?" The reception was in full swing. The 5-tier cake had been cut, champagne flowed freely, and the dance floor pulsated with energy. Aaliyah's college friends had just finished an elaborate dance routine they'd prepared as a surprise, leaving her breathless with laughter. As the night progressed, Nathan spent increasing amounts of time at the bar with his college fraternity brothers. Aaliyah noticed but tried not to let it bother her. This was their day, a celebration, and everyone deserved to enjoy themselves. At the head table, Aaliyah's best friend and maid of honor, Tanisha, leaned toward her. "Everything okay? Nathan seems to be hitting the whiskey pretty hard." "It's fine," Aaliyah assured her, though a knot of concern tightened in her stomach. "He's just excited." Across the room, Nathan's mother, Vivian Brooks, observed her son with growing concern. She'd seen him like this before, that dangerous gleam in his eye when he'd had too much to drink. She made her way toward him, hoping to intervene discreetly. "Honey, why don't you have some water?" Vivian suggested, placing a gentle hand on Nathan's arm. Nathan shrugged her off. "Mom, stop. I'm fine. It's my wedding day. I'm celebrating." His words slurred slightly at the edges. "That's exactly why you should pace yourself," Vivian insisted, lowering her voice. "You want to remember tonight, don't you?" Nathan rolled his eyes. "Always trying to control me." He turned his back on her, ordering another drink. The time had come for toasts. Aaliyah's father, Dr. William Johnson, approached the microphone, champagne glass in hand. He spoke eloquently about his daughter's accomplishments, her kindness, and his hopes for the young couple's future. "And Nathan," Dr. Johnson said, "you're gaining not just a wife today, but a partner who will challenge you, support you, and make you a better man. Treat her well, son. She's the best of us." The crowd applauded, and Nathan made his way somewhat unsteadily to the microphone. Aaliyah watched with growing unease as he swayed slightly. "Thanks, Dr. Johnson," Nathan began, his words slurring more noticeably now. "I know exactly what I've got. A beautiful, smart, and let's face it," he paused, looking Aaliyah up and down, "exotic wife who's going to give me beautiful mixed babies." An uncomfortable silence fell over the room. Aaliyah's smile froze on her face as she registered his words. Nathan continued, oblivious to the tension. "I want to thank Aaliyah's family for accepting me, even though I know some of you had your concerns about your princess marrying a white boy." He laughed at his own joke, but no one joined him. Aaliyah stood and approached her husband, reaching for the microphone. "Thank you, honey. I think that's enough." Nathan jerked the microphone away. "I'm not finished, babe." His tone had an edge that Aaliyah had never heard before. "Nathan, you're drunk. Let's take a break," she whispered urgently. "Don't tell me what to do," he hissed, then caught himself, forcing a smile for their audience. "My beautiful bride thinks I need to sit down, but I just want everyone to know how lucky I am." Aaliyah tried once more to guide him away from the microphone. What happened next occurred so quickly that later many guests would question if they had actually seen it. Nathan's hand flew up and connected with Aaliyah's cheek in a sharp slap that echoed through the suddenly silent ballroom. Gasps erupted throughout the room. Aaliyah stood frozen, her hand pressed against her stinging cheek, shock etched across her features. Time seemed to suspend as the reality of what had just occurred registered with everyone present. Nathan's expression shifted from anger to horror as he realized what he'd done. "Aaliyah, I didn't mean—" Before he could finish, Aaliyah's brother, Marcus, lunged forward but was intercepted by Dr. Johnson, who grasped his son's shoulders firmly. "Not like this," Dr. Johnson said quietly, his voice trembling with barely contained rage. His eyes, however, never left Nathan's face. Tanisha rushed to Aaliyah's side, placing a protective arm around her friend. "Come with me," she whispered, attempting to guide Aaliyah away. But Aaliyah didn't move. The initial shock was wearing off, replaced by something else, a calm, cold fury that straightened her spine and lifted her chin. "No," she said firmly, removing Tanisha's hand. "I'm not going anywhere." The room remained deathly quiet as Aaliyah stepped toward Nathan. When she spoke, her voice carried clearly through the silence. "In front of our families, our friends, and God, you just showed everyone who you really are." Her voice was steady, her gaze unwavering. "This is not love. This is not respect. And this is not a marriage I will be part of." Nathan's face crumpled. "Baby, please. I'm sorry. I've had too much to drink. You know I would never hurt you." "But you just did," Aaliyah replied. "And something tells me it wouldn't be the last time." Aaliyah turned to address the stunned guests, her composure remarkable given the circumstances. "I want to thank you all for coming to celebrate what we thought would be the beginning of our life together. Unfortunately, it appears to be the end." Whispers rippled through the crowd. Nathan's mother, Vivian, approached the couple, her face ashen. "Aaliyah, dear, perhaps we should all take some time to calm down." "With all due respect, Mrs. Brooks," Aaliyah interrupted gently, "there's nothing to discuss. A man who would hit his wife on their wedding day will do much worse behind closed doors." Nathan sank into a nearby chair, head in his hands. "I've ruined everything," he mumbled. "Yes," Aaliyah agreed, removing her wedding ring. "You have." Dr. Johnson approached his daughter. "Whatever you need, sweetheart. We're here." Aaliyah nodded gratefully, then addressed the room once more. "The reception is over, but please, enjoy the food and drinks. No sense in letting it go to waste." She managed a small, sad smile. "Consider it a celebration of dodging a bullet rather than a wedding." A smattering of nervous laughter broke the tension. Aaliyah's college roommate began a slow clap that gradually spread throughout the room, building into applause that affirmed her decision. Nathan's father finally approached, having watched the scene unfold from a distance. He placed a heavy hand on his son's shoulder. "Get up," he commanded quietly. "We're leaving, now." 3 months later, Aaliyah sat in her corner office on the 32nd floor of the Thompson & Barker law firm, overlooking the sprawling city skyline. The morning sun cast long golden rectangles across her mahogany desk, illuminating the stack of case files she had been reviewing since dawn. The incident at her wedding, what she now referred to clinically as the catalyst, had made local news initially, then exploded across social media platforms when a guest's smartphone video surfaced online. The 15-second clip had been viewed over 8 million times. The raised hand, the crack of skin against skin, and most powerfully, Aaliyah's transformation from shocked victim to dignified warrior in the span of heartbeats. Her mother had begged her to have the video removed, concerned about how such public humiliation might affect her daughter's career and future dating prospects. But Aaliyah, after 2 days of contemplation in the solitude of her apartment, had made a decision that surprised everyone, including herself. Rather than hide from the publicity or attempt to erase the evidence of that painful moment, she had chosen to channel it into something meaningful, something transformative, not just for herself, but potentially for thousands of other women. A gentle knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. Tanisha entered, her arms laden with freshly printed brochures featuring the elegant purple and silver logo of the newly established Johnson Foundation for Domestic Violence Prevention and Recovery. Tanisha, who had transitioned from maid of honor to the foundation's operations director, wore her commitment to the cause like a second skin. She had put her own promising marketing career on temporary hold to help build something that had quickly grown beyond either woman's initial vision. "The first fundraiser is officially sold out," she announced proudly, placing the brochures carefully on the edge of Aaliyah's desk. $300,000 for the domestic violence shelter renovation, and we haven't even held the event. Yet, corporate sponsorships keep rolling in. That pharmaceutical company called again. They want to increase their donation to a full-wing naming opportunity. Aaliyah nodded, satisfaction warming her chest even as she remained outwardly composed. She had learned to guard her emotions carefully these past months, to present a face of strength to the world while processing her private pain during her thrice-weekly therapy sessions. The shelter will finally be able to accommodate families with teenage boys, she noted. The current facility could only accept women with daughters or sons under 12, a policy that forced many mothers to make impossible choices when seeking safety. She ran her fingers lightly over the embossed foundation logo, a phoenix rising, before meeting Tanisha's gaze. "How many women have contacted us through the website this week?" The foundation's digital outreach had begun as a simple landing page with resources, but had evolved into a comprehensive portal with legal advice, safety planning tools, and virtual support groups. 17 this week alone, Tanisha replied, settling into the chair opposite Aaliyah's desk and opening her tablet to display the analytics. That's nearly double last week's numbers. The support group is growing so quickly we've had to add a Tuesday evening session. And 3 more law firms have joined our pro bono network that brings us to 28 firms across 5 states. She paused, a small smile playing at her lips. "Oh, and that judicial clerk who saw your CNN interview?" She called. "She's leaving the judge's chambers to join us as our policy director once her clerkship ends next month." After the wedding disaster, Aaliyah had thrown herself into establishing a foundation that provided not just emotional support, but practical, life-changing legal services to domestic violence survivors. She had leveraged her position at the law firm to recruit colleagues, called in favors from law school classmates now scattered across prestigious practices nationwide, and pitched her vision to the firm's partners with such conviction that they had agreed to count her foundation work toward her billable hours quota. The viral video, while initially humiliating, had become a powerful testimony that helped countless women recognize early warning signs in their own relationships, patterns of control, isolation, and temperamental outbursts that often escalated over time to physical violence. The analytics show that the educational video series is reaching the target demographic, Tanisha continued, scrolling through colorful graphs on her tablet. The one about identifying controlling behaviors in dating relationships has over 200,000 views, and the testimonial series, she paused, looking up at Aaliyah with undisguised pride. Your segment has been shared nearly 1 million times across platforms. People aren't just watching, they're engaging. The comments section is filled with women sharing their own stories, many for the first time. Aaliyah absorbed this information. with a complex mixture of emotions. She never would have chosen this path, this specific crucible of public humiliation followed by public testimony, but she couldn't deny the impact. Every woman who reached out, who recognized her own situation in Aaliyah's story and found the courage to leave before the pattern escalated, represented a life potentially saved. The statistics were grim. Domestic violence frequently intensified over time, and leaving an abuser was often the most dangerous moment in a relationship. Proper support during that crucial window could mean the difference between escape and tragedy. Her office phone rang, the distinctive tone indicating an external call. Aaliyah reached for it with the practiced poise she had cultivated through hundreds of media interviews over the past months. "Aaliyah Johnson," she answered professionally, maintaining eye contact with Tanisha, who mouthed, "I'll wait," and settled back in her chair. "Ms. Johnson, this is Gloria Reeves from Senator Martinez's office," came the crisp, efficient voice on the other end. "The senator has been following your foundation's work with great interest, particularly your advocacy for reformation of restraining order enforcement. She would like to invite you to speak at the upcoming congressional hearing on domestic violence legislation. Your perspective as both a legal professional and someone with personal experience would be invaluable to the committee." Aaliyah's heart accelerated slightly, though her voice remained steady as she confirmed her interest and scheduled a preliminary call to discuss the details. This was an opportunity to influence policy at the national level, to address the systemic gaps that left too many women vulnerable even after they had done everything right, filed reports, obtained restraining orders, sought shelter. As she ended the call, she felt Tanisha's expectant gaze. "Senator Martinez," Aaliyah explained, allowing herself a small smile of triumph. "Congressional testimony next month on the Violence Against Women Act reauthorization and proposed enforcement enhancements. From viral video to Capitol Hill in 3 months," Tanisha said softly, shaking her head in wonder. "When you said you wanted to make meaning from this mess, I had no idea the scale you were envisioning." Aaliyah swiveled her chair to face the floor-to-ceiling windows, gathering her thoughts as she gazed at the city below. The same city where, 3 months ago, she had woken as an excited bride, unaware that by nightfall her life would veer wildly from its anticipated course. The sunlight caught the simple silver band she now wore on her right hand, a personal reminder of her commitment not to a man, but to this cause and to herself. She turned back to her desk, eyes falling on the framed photograph positioned prominently, where clients and colleagues couldn't miss it. Not a wedding portrait, as she had once anticipated, but a photograph from the day she launched her foundation. In the image, she stood at a podium, microphone in hand, eyes alight with purpose. Surrounding her were her family, her father standing tall with undisguised pride, her mother clutching her handkerchief but smiling through tears, her brother with his protective arm around their mother's shoulders. Flanking them were dozens of supporters, colleagues, friends, and several women who had reached out after seeing the viral video, sharing their own stories of relationships abandoned at the first sign of violence. That slap had been both an ending and a beginning. Aaliyah reflected as she traced the silver frame with her fingertip. Nathan had revealed his true self at the worst possible moment for him, but also at the best possible time for her, before legal marriage could make leaving more complicated, before children could be affected, before years of subtle and escalating. Abuse could erode her confidence, her professional standing, her financial independence, and her strength. His mask had dropped when she still had a support system around her, witnesses to corroborate her experience, and the professional resources to rebuild her life quickly. Many women weren't so fortunate. Many endured years of escalating abuse behind closed doors, their support networks systematically dismantled by controlling partners, their economic independence undermined, their self-confidence deliberately eroded until escape seemed impossible. Aaliyah had come to understand how privilege had shaped even her trauma. Her education, Family support and financial stability had cushioned her fall and facilitated her rapid rise from the ashes. Her foundation specifically sought to extend those privileges to women without such advantages, providing emergency housing, legal representation, career counseling, and child care assistance. "We need to include domestic violence education in high school health classes," Aaliyah said suddenly, the idea crystallizing as she spoke. "Prevention starts with recognition. Too many young women and men don't know what healthy relationships look like. They mistake jealousy for love, control for care." Tanisha nodded, already making notes on her tablet. "I'll contact the education consultant tomorrow. We could develop a curriculum module as a pilot program." Sometimes, Aaliyah reflected as she watched her friend work, the worst day of your life could lead to your most important purpose. She hadn't expected her wedding day to end in humiliation and heartbreak, but she certainly hadn't expected it to launch her into becoming an advocate, whose work now protected thousands. She hadn't expected to find such deep fulfillment in creating systems and structures that helped women escape situations she had narrowly avoided herself. Pain, properly channeled, could become power, a lesson she now taught others every day. Through her foundation's work, her public speaking, and perhaps most importantly, through her own steadfast refusal to be defined by victimhood. The woman who had walked away from her wedding reception with her head held high was the same woman now preparing to testify before Congress, the same woman whose legal strategies had already helped dozens of women secure restraining orders, custody arrangements, and financial settlements that enabled true independence. "The reporter from Time will be here at 3, Tanisha reminded her, rising from the chair. "And your father called earlier. He wants to discuss the Foundation's expansion plans over dinner tonight." Aaliyah nodded, already mentally shifting gears to prepare for the interview. The national magazine profile would bring another wave of attention to the cause, another opportunity to reach women trapped in the early stages of abusive relationships. With each interview, each speech, each case successfully navigated, the memory of that public slap receded further, overshadowed by the powerful legacy it had inadvertently spawned. She had turned a moment of weakness, not her own but Nathan's, into a movement of strength. And for that, paradoxically, a small part of her had come to be grateful for what had happened on what should have been the happiest day of her life, but had instead become the most consequential. 1 year to the day after her wedding, that wasn't. Aaliyah stood at a podium accepting a humanitarian award. The audience included her parents, brother, friends, and many women who had found courage through her story. "We don't always get to choose what happens to us," she told the crowd. "But we always get to choose what we do next. Sometimes the worst moments reveal our greatest strengths." In the back of the room, Nathan watched silently, 6 months sober and in therapy. He hadn't come to apologize. He'd done that in a lengthy letter that Aaliyah had acknowledged but not answered. He'd come to witness the extraordinary aftermath of his terrible mistake, how one woman had transformed personal humiliation into a movement. As Aaliyah concluded her speech to thunderous applause, Nathan slipped out unnoticed. Some breaks couldn't be repaired. Some apologies, though necessary, weren't enough. But watching her tonight, he understood something important. Sometimes the best thing you can do for someone you've hurt is to let them go completely so they can become who they were always meant to be. And sometimes, a slap that was meant to control can instead become the catalyst for someone's liberation.